Did you actually learn anything?
Oh man, I learned we need to buy this car, man.
So, any questions, problems?
No, man. Handles like a dream. Engine runs great.
All right, buddy. Thanks a lot, man.
Thanks, Corey.
When a vintage car rolls into the Pawn Stars lot, everyone stops to take a look, and for good reason. These classic machines aren't just beautiful, they're worth a fortune. From rare muscle cars to iconic antiques with legendary pasts, some of these rides came with shocking price tags and unforgettable stories. Let's get started, shall we?
You said car, not supercar, man.
That's right, man. It's a Lamborghini Murciélago, 2003.
Nice.
Aha! I just had a feeling this car was going to cost a fortune. I mean, he purchased the car for $111,000. You can bet this seller is not going to take anything below $100,000. I most definitely do not care how big I am. If I were to be in Corey's shoes, I would find a way to fit into that vehicle. I mean, it's a Lamborghini Murciélago for crying out loud. There are only a few of these in the world.
Beautiful, man. Driving a Lambo is a dream come true. It's nice having big bosses.
Isn't that hilarious? Even the expert who tests supercars for the shop is amazed by the fact that he just drove a Lamborghini Murciélago. Oh well, the car checks out fine. How much is Corey going to pay for it? Looks like getting the car to run was not enough. Corey had to get another expert to check it out once again and determine how much it's really worth. If we're being honest, $90,000 is not so much of a bad price if you ask me. Well, that is that about that.
I'm looking to sell it.
What are you looking to get at?
I'd say around $115,000 for it.
Shelling out over $100,000 on a car is a huge deal. And if I don't get this right, my dad and the old man are gonna skid me a lot. So I've got to be sure on the price.
It sucks that a deal was not made for real. The Lamborghini Murciélago is one of those cars that anyone would dream to have. Corey's expert told him that the best price for the car was $90,000, but this customer was not buying that. He wanted $100,000 for the vehicle. Corey decided to go up to $95,000, but the customer said, no deal. In the end, he took the car home and left with empty pockets.
So what do you got here?
I got a 1931 Rio Flying Clap.
They put a lot of style when they built cars back then. It's like a box, but it's like an Arctic box.
The next item on the menu was a vintage car, and I must tell you, this car was looking like some real money. Rick and his dad wasted no time in going to check out the vehicle. Getting there, well, let's just say Rick's dad was not very impressed. Rick's dad is one tough old bird. It's gonna take heaven to get him to like this car, if we are being honest. I mean, he hasn't even said a single word about the vehicle. Or could the vehicle be worth nothing? I mean, it's vintage for crying out loud.
Original distributor, no power steering, just looks like a worm gear.
They were basic simple. You could rebuild one with a crescent wrench. Oh, the interior's fair. Looks like most of it's here.
Wait. Did he say after 80 years? I'm surprised the vehicle still runs, to be honest, but the sounds coming out of this vehicle could honestly make you deaf. Man, I would have to wear earplugs if I were out there. But it's amazing to see that a car this old sounds like it could take on a Ferrari in a drag race and actually win. You can bet that the customer who brought in the vintage car is going to want a fortune to let this car go.
About 40,000.
I'd like to, too.
Let me have someone come down here and take a look at this thing.
Okay.
And we'll talk about it and we'll figure out if we can do something. Okay?
Sounds great.
That doesn't sound like a bad price, actually. But then again, the vehicle runs like a piece of crap. Rick's going to have someone check it out and see if it's worth paying $40,000. If you ask me, I don't think this car should be up to $40,000. I mean, it sounded really great when they kicked the engine, but seeing it move like that, this car definitely can't win a race against a Ferrari. Let's see what the expert has to say about the vehicle.
We had a runner.
How'd it sound?
It sounded good.
Good. Was it smoking pretty bad? The interior's not too bad. It's all here. It could definitely use restoration. That's crazy.
Ugh, the seller is so disappointed with that figure. Well, Rick has a lot of thinking to do. Fixing up the vehicle is going to cost him no less than 30 grand. At this point, I wonder how much Rick is willing to pay for this vintage vehicle. If you ask me, I would say that Rick might as well just give up on buying the vehicle. If fixing it is going to cost him up to $30,000, he might as well buy a new car. I guess that ends that deal. Let's see what's next, shall we?
A local magician that I've actually known for a couple years recently contacted me saying he wants to sell his Mercedes Gullwing that was previously owned by Vegas legends Siegfried and Roy.
Haha, I see why Rick called him a magician. He sure knows how to throw a show. Now, Rick says that he has known this local magician for a while. The magician brings in his Mercedes-Benz SLS AMG Gullwing coupe that was previously owned by Vegas legends Siegfried and Roy. Rick grabs Corey and heads down to meet the magician. Rick sets his eyes on the car and he is very impressed impressed by what he sees.
The two of them met in the 1950s on a cruise ship, started doing the magic shows and the circuits, nothing big.
Right.
And then there was a talent scout for the Tropicana. You saw the rack.
Right.
Well, it looks like Siegfried and Roy were the real deal during their time. Corey says that Siegfried and Roy signed a contract with Steve Wynn to perform at their Mirage exclusively, and they made over $57 million. You can tell that they honestly made a lot of money back in their day. Having a car up for sale that belonged to them is not going to go for some cheap change.
Well, I'm a magician myself, as you know, and as a kid, they actually gave me advice and mentored. So when they passed away, I thought it would be really cool to have something of theirs.
I would probably also disappear if I heard those numbers. $225,000 is not a joke. That's a fortune right there. That's the kind of price that scares buyers away. Rick asked him why he wanted to sell the car, and he said that he is a tall guy, and he can no longer fit into the car as he would love to. They ask him how much he wants for the vehicle, and the price he mentions sends shivers down Rick and Corey's spines. Are they going to put that amount of money into a car?
It's not really going to add to the value. It's just not for me. This is a newer car that needs to go to an exotic car dealer.
Sure.
I'm not an exotic car dealer.
Now this gentleman, who I would like to think is Rick's friend, walks into the pawn shop with a list of items. I'm telling you, he had a bag of weird items he wanted to sell to Rick. Believe me when I tell you that you will be as shocked as Rick when you see the items.
I have been through the bowels of America trying to find the best deals I can and the most unique items for Rick.
I'm sure you can see why I said the items were weird. Someone would honestly think he stole those items and is looking to make some quick cash from the pawn shop. I wonder how much this guy intends to make from the sale of these items. It looks like Rick is not interested in the bag. There seems to be some kind of significant history attached to the bag, but Rick just does not want anything to do with it. If he says no to that bag, I wonder what he is going to say to the other items.
These are extremely rare nuclear testing goggles.
Okay, it's Omnitech Incorporated. They made goggles for the government. I know that.
Man, Rick is really not impressed with any of the items this guy brought to the pawn shop. The second item Rick checks out from the bag is rare nuclear testing goggles. The dude who brought them said he wanted $2 grand, but Rick is not giving that. At least this item has some proof that says it's original. The next item happens to be a christening bottle that Jackie Kennedy herself used in 1962. Let's hope Rick wants this item because so far it doesn't seem like he is interested in anything this guy wants to sell.
Jacqueline Kennedy, very iconic. To this day, she is loved by everybody. All of her stuff is collectible. How much do you want for it?
I need $25,000 for that.
Did this guy say he wants $25,000 for that item? Haha, he can't be serious. Rick told him a straight no. Like Rick said, the bottle is not going to sell for that amount in the market, and there's no use having it in the shop. Looks like out of all the items that this guy brought, this is the only one that Rick seems to be interested in. The item is an F4 Phantom control stick. Let's see how much he wants for this item. Hopefully it's not something ridiculous.
That's an F4 Phantom control stick.
How much you want for it?
Need $850 for that one.
Finally, the first and only item Rick decided to buy from this guy. He initially wanted $600 for the item, but they came to the middle, and Rick agreed to buy the item for $450. It might be small, but at least he isn't going home with an empty pocket. Well, he is happy that he is not going home with empty pockets. Funny enough, Rick offered to take him to lunch. Win-win, if you ask me. Moving on to the next item, some gentleman walked into the shop, and I must tell you, what he had for sale looked priceless. If I had something like that, I don't think I would ever want to sell it. He brought in his 1979 rock and roll high school movie poster, signed by all the cast and Cupid Ramones that were in the movie. Imagine wanting to sell that? That has to be worth a lot of money.
I'm at the pawn shop today trying to sell my 1979 Rock and Roll High School Ramones signed poster.
Looks like I was right. He says that he is hoping to get at least $20,000 from the sale of his poster. That price kind of sounds very high, but let's see if Corey is going to agree with the price. But wait a second, is it just me or does it seem like this guy doesn't know anything about the poster? Corey seems to be the one telling him about the poster, and all he is doing is giving one-word replies. Could he be a scammer? I guess we'll see.
Yeah, we had Joey, Marky, Dee, and Johnny Ramone. You want to point out some of the autographs to me?
That price definitely threw Corey off his feet. The guy who brought it in wants $29,000 for the item, but being that it's a very high figure, Corey wants to get someone to check out the item and authenticate if it's original and not a fake. But giving it a second thought, it looks like the piece is actually pretty authentic. Corey's expert goes through the poster and he says that the signatures on it look very original. I guess what's left is for them to start talking about the price.
This is really interesting, this signature here. That's Robin team.
Ouch, ouch, ouch. You can tell the price shattered his heart and threw him off balance. After going through the poster, the expert says that he is going to value the poster at $2,500. His dreams of making $20,000 are definitely over. You can always trust Corey to be firm with his price, just like his dad. Corey offered to buy the item for $1,500, but the guy who brought the poster into the shop told him he couldn't go that low and would find someone else to buy it for the right price.
I mean, I'd offer you about $1,000 for it.
5,000?
You know, I could go 15. That's going to be the most.
Can I go 4?
No, I just said 15 is going to be the most I could do.
Well, good luck to him. Now the next item was almost very similar to the previous one. This lady walked into the pawn shop saying that she wanted to sell her Walking Dead action figure collection. Looks like we have another movie fan, but I can't even hide my surprise. That is a lot of action figures. I don't know about her, but they sound like they are very precious. She claims to have worked on the movie series The Walking Dead as a whisperer. Oh, and let's not forget that the action figures are signed.
I'm at the pawn shop today and I'm looking to sell my autographed Walking Dead action figure collection. It took me years to get this collection.
Let's be honest, $5,000 sounds like a pretty reasonable price for all those action figures. She says that it took her almost 7 years to get all of them. Phew, I would be asking for $10,000 if I were in her shoes.
This is cool. The Walking Dead is very, very popular. It started out as a comic, was adapted into a television series, became a cult classic immediately.
Ow! Look at Corey talking like he was part of the makers of the movie. We can all agree that he is a big fan of the Walking Dead movie. That's good. Who knows? Maybe he might actually buy all of them from the lady. That's definitely a plus for her. Chum looks at some of the action figures and they seem to be in pretty good shape and condition. It's kind of mind-blowing that she has so many of them. I think it's time to get down to how much she wants for the items.
I want to sell them.
And how much are you looking to get?
5,000.
Okay.
I wasn't expecting anything less from Chum. That's the #1 rule. If you aren't sure about an item, always get an expert to check it out. Chum wants to find out if the action figures would actually sell for $5,000. But I can't believe they just made a joke about Rick. If only he were here to hear that. Well, the expert seems to be impressed with what he sees so far. It looks like he is also a Walking Dead fan. Let's see if there are more interesting facts about the action figures.
So, where did you get all the autographs at?
I got them signed at different shows.
It seems like Chum also has a role to play in authenticating if the action figures are legit. Like the expert said, the lady is the only one who knows if they were truly signed by the actors. The next person who is going to buy it has no idea if that's true. Well, $2,000 actually does not sound like such a bad price. The expert says that the price can only be higher if Chum is able to authenticate that the action figures were truly signed by actors like the lady said. Let's see if she's going to go with that price.
I wish I could pay you more, but this is going to be a lot of work to sell, and not every single one of these are going to sell. I am going to get stuck with some of these for a while.
I guess we have your answer. Chum explains that getting to sell the action figures is not going to be easy, and for most of the time, some of the action figures are going to be in the shop for a long time. Even with that, the lady says she can't sell for $2,000. At least she's taking her loss like a champ. Up next, we have a 1933 WS Darley Champion fire station siren that found its way to the pawn shop. The item was so big and heavy that Corey had to examine it outside of the pawn shop.
This is a 1933 WS Darley Champion fire station siren.
Haha, I can't believe he said his cat is still in therapy as a result of him using the siren. It means the siren has to be loud as hell. If Corey is looking to chase his neighbors away, this is the perfect item for him. $1,000 seems to be okay as his selling price. He says that he has had the siren in his garage for about 4 years now, and he is looking to sell it because he needs money for car parts. Well, let's see if Corey is going to be interested.
But this was long before everybody had telephone or there was an emergency broadcast signal or anything like that set out.
I'm pretty sure this dude has no idea what Corey is talking about. Let's just say this siren is older than some of our parents. Sometimes I wonder how Corey even knows the history of some of these items. I'm not right there with Corey, but I can tell that the siren is going to be loud as hell. Corey says that the metal of the siren seems to be in pretty good shape. What he wants now is to see if the siren actually works. I can't wait to hear how loud it is.
Let me hear that it works, and we can go a little bit further.
All right, well, prepare yourself because it's pretty loud. You ready?
Yep.
Haha, Corey is hilarious. Well, the siren works, and I must tell you, it is loud. The guy who brought it in couldn't even allow it to run for more than a few seconds. Corey seems to be very impressed. All that's left is to see how much he wants to buy the siren.
I'd like $1,000 for it.
I'll tell you what, man, it's definitely cool, but I don't know if it's $1,000. How do you feel about 500?
700 bucks? I honestly thought Corey was going to go with $1,000. Well, the guy who brought in the siren doesn't seem to be too displeased about the price. At least he isn't leaving the pawn shop with the siren. A win is a win. This next item would leave you speechless. This guy walked into the pawn shop wanting to sell his sword collection. It seems like everyone wants to get rid of their collection, but trust me when I say this man has some pretty impressive swords.
What do we got here?
You've got my sword collection, Roman, that is.
Okay, where did you get them?
Through my father, from his father.
You'd honestly think the dude who brought in the swords was some type of ninja for real. Or could he be a samurai? Oh well. Rick definitely looks fascinated by the swords, and who knows, that fascination might just be enough to buy the swords from the guy. It sounds like he has had his fair share of keeping the swords. Now he wants the swords to be on display so other people can appreciate how unique they are. But of course, that would come at a price.
Basically the perfect sword for the type of warfare they had. They figured out this was the perfect length, perfect thickness, everything about it.
Some part of me feels like when Rick is not in the pawn shop, he is probably off somewhere taking history lessons on almost anything and everything. How on earth does he even know about these swords? Wow.
It's an odd size, odd shape. The lines down it right here don't look like they serve a purpose. They might be decorative.
Finally, there is something there that he can't identify. For a second there, you'd think he was part of the army that used these swords to fight back in the day. Looks like he has seen enough of this dude's sword collection. I wonder how much he wants for the swords. I was honestly not expecting anything less. With those figures he called, there was no way Rick was not going to call in an expert to help him x-ray the swords and find out if they are actually real. For this dude's sake, let's hope that they are.
So yeah, we've got 3 different varieties. Of course, the gladius. I mean, that is the go-to weapon of the Roman military.
That's the only question that matters right now. Rick's expert, of course, has all the knowledge about swords, but what Rick needs him to determine is if the swords are actually original and not fakes. Like he said, there are a lot of fake swords out there. Let's just say that the guy who brought in the swords should bring down his hopes of walking out of the pawn shop with a lot of money. They check the first sword, and sadly, it seems to be a fake. Let's see if the rest of the swords turn out differently.
Wow. Chromium, bad. Magnesium, bad. Yeah. I'd retail this at about $4,000.
Okay.
We have 2 fake and 1 original sword. This dude who brought in the swords is definitely not having a very good day. The expert says that the original sword would be priced at $4,000 on the open market. Let's see how much Rick is willing to pay for it. From almost making $10,000, this guy is walking away with just $2,200. Sad. Even he has no idea that the other swords were fake. Thank goodness Rick had an expert come check the swords out.
What's your best price?
25.
21?
Why don't you do 22.50? Call it a day.
Let's just call it 2,200 even.